Okay, let's talk about a feeling every single creative person knows all too well. That moment where you feel completely, utterly stuck, like you just can't produce a thing. But what if we've been calling it the wrong name this whole time?
You've definitely said this. I know I have. It's that heavy, super frustrating feeling when the ideas just stop. The canvas stays blank, the page stays empty. It almost feels like a rite of passage for creatives, right? But here's a thought. What if the problem isn't a lack of ideas at all, but actually a lack of visibility? This is the big idea we're going to dig into, that what we think is an artistic problem is, a lot of the time, really a business problem in disguise. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to bust the myth of creative block. Then, we'll talk about the crucial feedback loop that you might be missing. We'll completely reframe what marketing means for an artist, look at some simple tools, and then wrap up with a solid 4-week action plan to get you moving again.
All right, section 1, the creative block myth. Let's pull the mask off this thing. Because, more often than not, that feeling of being blocked doesn't come from an empty well of ideas. It comes from a really basic human need, the need for our work to actually connect with other people.
So many of us get caught in this vicious cycle without even noticing. It goes like this. You pour your heart into creating something amazing. You put it out into the world, and you hear crickets. Nothing. And because nobody sees it, you start to wonder, was it even any good? That doubt just kills your motivation, and bam, suddenly you feel blocked.
And there it is, the uncomfortable truth. The problem isn't that your well of creativity has run dry. The problem is you're pouring all that incredible creative water out onto the sand, where it just disappears. Without a way for your work to be seen and appreciated, the motivation to create just evaporates.
Okay, section 2, the feedback loop. So what's the antidote to this whole cycle? It's something called the creative feedback loop. Seriously, this is the engine that drives creativity and separates the artists who keep going from those who get stuck. So this is what a healthy, thriving creative process actually looks like. You create your work, but then, and this is the most important step, you actively share it. And when you share it, you get feedback. That might be a comment, a like, a sale, a commission, anything. That feedback is fuel. It gives you the energy to create again, but now you've got new motivation.
See? It's a pretty simple equation. If you don't share your work, you don't get any feedback, and without feedback, your motivation just fizzles out. Creating in a vacuum is totally unsustainable. It's like trying to have a conversation in an empty room. Eventually, you're just going to stop talking.
Now for section 3. I can almost hear what some of you are thinking. Ugh, marketing, that feels so sleazy. That's for big corporations. We have got to demolish that mindset. For an artist, marketing isn't selling out. It's just the act of sharing. This right here, this might be the single most damaging myth in the entire creative world. Look, your art is powerful, but in today's noisy world, your art needs a microphone. Just hoping it'll get discovered on its own is a recipe for disappointment and, yeah, for feeling blocked.
This chart shows the shift perfectly. You need to go from thinking, I'm just an artist, to I'm an artist who shares. Marketing isn't a dirty word. It's amplification. It's about connecting your work with the very people it was made for. On to section 4, the artist's toolkit. So, if we agree marketing is just a tool for sharing, what does that actually look like for a creative person? Let's get practical and move from the why to the how. Forget everything you think you know about sales funnels and weird corporate jargon. For an artist, marketing boils down to one thing: strategic visibility. That's it. It's just about intentionally putting your work where the right people can find it. Simple as that. And here are some of the ways you can do that. You've got social media for telling your story, an email list for talking directly to your fans, collabs to find new audiences. There are a ton of options. Each one is just a different road to connect your art with people. But, and this is probably the most important piece of advice in his whole explainer, don't try to do all of them. Please don't. That just leads to burnout, which feels, well, a lot like the creative block we started with. The secret is to pick just 1 or 2 of these channels and really focus on them. That's it. All right, last section. We've busted the myth, we've looked at the tools, now let's put it all together into a simple, step-by-step plan to take you from feeling stuck to feeling unstoppable in just 4 weeks. It's super straightforward. Week 1, you just take an honest look at what you're doing right now to share your work. Week 2, you pick your 1 or 2 channels.
Week 3 is go time. You actually create and schedule your posts or emails. And then week 4, that's when the magic starts. You start engaging, seeing what works, and making little adjustments. Think of this whole 4-week plan as a personal experiment. You're not marrying these channels forever. You are just testing a theory for 1 month. What happens to my so-called creative block when I actually start sharing my work on purpose? Let's just let that one sink in for a second. The cure isn't always to stare harder at a blank page or go on a desperate hunt for inspiration. Sometimes the cure is just building a bridge between the amazing work you do and the rest of the world.
And that's the question I want to leave you with. Really, be honest with yourself. Is your well of ideas truly empty? Or have you just forgotten to open the gates and let that creativity flow out to the people who are waiting to see it? The answer to that question, well, it just might change everything for you.